Love. What is love? Do you love yourself? Self-love is very important. I'm not talking about giving yourself a hug and telling yourself how wonderful you are, although you should believe you're wonderful. If you want other people to think you're wonderful, how do you expect other people to love you if you don't love yourself? Obviously, you can't transmit something you haven't got. Also, you can't receive something that you don't believe in inherently. How can you expect someone to love you if when you look in the mirror, you're constantly cutting yourself down and berating yourself? Would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself? When you make a mistake, do you beat yourself up and call yourself stupid? Say things like you can't believe what an idiot you are? How can you expect someone else to love you and want to be with you when the reality is you act like you don't want to be with yourself? You want to be different. You don't like the way you are, much less love who you are. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're perfect. Now you say, oh, I'm not perfect. No, you are perfect. You're at a perfect stage of evolution. You're growing, you're expanding, you're evolving. Unless, of course, you're sitting still and you're not trying to grow. You're not trying to learn. You're not trying to be different. I don't want to say better because that indicates that you're not good enough. I know maybe you look at other people and you look at yourself, you look at your mistakes, and you feel stupid about making them. We all came here as sinners, okay? But let me define what the word sin and sinner really means. It comes from an Anglo-Saxon term, and I've said this many times, it's an archery term. It means to miss the mark. So if you're shooting at the bullseye with an arrow and you miss it, you sinned. You missed the mark. But religion has taken that word, correct my English, and turned it into something terrible. Oh, you're all born sinners. Well, there's some truth in that. Just like with every, we'll say with every lie, there's a little truth in there which makes it more powerful. Sure, you are born a sinner. You're born to make mistakes. We're all born to make mistakes. How in the hell are we going to learn if we don't make mistakes? We're taught in school that failure is bad. Making mistakes and getting an F on your report card or a test or whatever you're doing is bad. It's shameful. The greatest successes are some of the greatest failures. The road to success is paved with failure. So this programming that we get from the time we're born, from religion, from schools, from society, teaches us to shrink back and not take risks. Because what if you fail? You'll be a failure, won't you? No, you will be a success. If you continue to fail, at the long road of those failures is success. But you have to be brave enough to fail time and time again. Your life will be sad, boring, and glum if you live a life of safety trying to avoid failure. How many people get opportunities for promotion in their job, their life, their business, whatever, and they don't take it? They don't take the big job because they don't know if they can do it. They're afraid to try because what if they fail? They're more worried about what people will think of them than what they will think of themselves. Another example for you men out there. How many times have you seen that girl that you thought was beautiful, but you did not approach her because you were afraid you would be rejected, or in other words, you would fail? So you didn't do anything, and the opportunity passed by you. Luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So when you're prepared to face fear, you take advantage of the opportunities. Fear is a paralyzer. If you allow it to be, you're always going to have fear. And as I said many times, the only difference between a hero and a coward is the hero faces his fear. The coward runs away to live another day. Yes, he lives another day, but what kind of day does he live? Does he have honor within himself? Does he feel like an honorable man? Is he going to shrink away when it really counts? When he has to be courageous? When he's out with his wife and children and he's approached by a robber with a knife? Is he going to run and leave his wife and children standing there? If he doesn't face the small fears in life, what's he going to do when something really dramatic happens? Something such as a robbery or a house intrusion. What's he going to do? Is he going to hide under the bed? Is he going to escape and leave his children in the other room? Hopefully not. Or will he face the fear and face the intruder? It seems to me people have lost, not everyone, but some people have lost their sense of honor. There was a time when people would go out and challenge other people to a duel if they disrespected their wife or disrespected the person, the man. Not that I believe that dueling is something that should be a commonplace thing, but I believe there's a time and a place for everything. If you don't have honor as a man, what do you have? The Romans used to have a saying, death before dishonor. But now it seems more like dishonor before humiliation, dishonor before facing a fear. That it's somehow noble to take dishonor, to shrink away. What would have happened if we as a country, as a nation, would have shrunk back and allowed ourselves to be trampled upon? It's like the situation in school with a bully. You can go tell the teacher, you can tell the principal, but that bully, 99% of the time, will not stop until you stand up for yourself. Until you take I'm trying to stop cussing, a butt beating, or you beat his butt, he's not going to stop. But I'm going to tell you what, even if he does whip you, he's not going to bother you again if you put out the effort and stand up for yourself. I've been humiliated many, many times in the past, and that's why I learned how to fight. Because the feeling of humiliation was much more detrimental than any of the whippings that I took. And I took quite a few whippings, in the ring and out of the ring. Worse, in the ring. I fought a guy one time in prison that just beat the crap out of me. I wasn't in prison, but we fought at the prison. The guy, 30 years later, I found out, and my coach told me, but he didn't tell me at the time, that the guy had a half a horseshoe in each glove, which made perfect sense because, man, I had cuts all over my head. I've spoken about this before, but the point is, I got back up. Maybe I shouldn't have. I faced the fear. I didn't stop boxing after that, even though I took a terrible beating. I learned from that situation, and I kept fighting. I got back up and started over again. I'm not saying that to brag about myself. I'm saying that to tell you the value of persistence in life. Just because you get beat up, no matter how badly you get beat up, whether it's literally or not, you get back up and you press on. You try to learn from that, you do something different. In that case, I got a different coach. I love my old coach, but I didn't trust him after that because he should have stopped the fight. Now, he didn't know there was a half a horseshoe in the glove until he looked over afterwards. And he didn't say anything about it because they were having problems there, rioting at the prison, and he didn't want to start any trouble. And probably that was the wise choice, but I didn't know that until 30 years later. But I changed coaches and started fighting out of St. Louis, which worked out good for me. But the whole point here is the persistence, and you have to have courage to have persistence. Sure, you're afraid it might happen again. I remember after I got knocked out once, and I did win more fights than I lost, okay. after I got knocked out once. I was afraid to fight, but I did it, and I didn't win the next fight, but I was happy I just didn't get knocked out, and I continued to fight from there on. So you have to learn to face these fears. The fear of failure. It's not humiliating to fail. It is humiliating to shrink away as a coward and not face what you're afraid of. Now, there are times, of course, when you can't do anything. I remember when I was in Latin America and we're walking down the street, me and my brother-in-law, and a car pulls up and stops, and the guys jumped out, 4 guys with 4 guns, and the driver had that gun right on me. Obviously, I'm not going to to try to fight him, because even if I took the gun away from him, I had 3 other guns aimed at me. So what are you going to do? So I gave him whatever. I gave him the money I had in my pocket, which wasn't much. I did not give him my keys, and I did not give him my passport. He didn't know they were in my pockets. Okay, now, had he pressed, I would have done that, but I didn't do that. So you got to keep your head in these situations. I didn't want to lose my passport because then I'm stuck in the country. I certainly didn't want him to have the keys, all right? But I gave him my money, no big deal. It was like 20 bucks. Now, normally I had been carrying quite a bit of money on me because I was doing construction there and needed that money to buy materials. But that day I just happened to not have much. So in a situation like that, you would be stupid to try to do anything. But there are other situations. Another time I was running down the street, exercising. I was running, come around the corner, and there were 2 men there. And one of them jumped up in my face, threw his forearm up underneath my chin. So I rolled down underneath that, and I hit him once in the ribs. And I come back up and was gonna punch him in the face, but as he fell down, I could see my fist. I missed him, and he landed on his butt. The other guy backed up, and I stood up to get ready to fight him. He backed off and said, "Tranquilo, tranquilo," which means calm down. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. And so I slowly backed away, and then I finished my run. Now in that situation, I fought. I had a choice. I could have ducked under him and took off running, and they wouldn't have caught me, but that never entered my mind. And I'm not saying that you should fight in a situation or not fight. I'm telling you what I did. I couldn't. Some people say no matter what, you run away. And maybe that's wise, but I have a sense of honor, kind of like the Romans, death before dishonor. You got to make that decision in that moment. Most of the time, I fight. But like I said, there are times, if I happen to be out today and I run into a 250-pound MMA fighter and he starts mouthing off at me, I may just walk away. I'm probably not going to run, but I'll probably walk away. So you got to make that judgment yourself. I'm not advocating violence or fighting. I'm advocating self-defense when it's necessary. When someone puts their hands on you, a lot of times you better make a choice to protect yourself. And if you run away, you better be a faster runner than they are. So that's up to you. But the original thing about this was love. So that's self-love. If you love yourself, you're going to take care of yourself. You're going to protect yourself. You're going to protect your family. If you're a coward, you're going to run away from every situation, whether it's a physical altercation or whether it's just something you're afraid to face where you think you might get humiliated. You're worried about what people are going to think about you. The most important thing is what you think about yourself, because that is what you present to others. That's what they're going to pick up on. Not how you look, not how you dress, but how you think about yourself. But I will say this, how you dress and how you carry yourself is a direct reflection about how you feel about yourself, how much you love yourself. So think about that. Take it for what it's worth. Share it with a friend if you think it's of value to them. And I thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a wonderful day.